mercy upon me. Please forgive me.
Justice! Sin must be punished!
I beg you mercy.
Forward, mercy!
Follow me as I tell you a story of secrets, darkness, and sin born from immortality. Once upon a time, in a quiet African village named Isuju, a celebration unlike any other swept through the land. The sun set on a vibrant day as villagers gathered from far and wide to witness the union of Obi and Adana. Congratulations, congratulations! Laughter filled the air as Obi's friends surrounded him, clapping him at the back. You are now a married man, one shouted. Finally, Obi has been captured, another teased. The air was full of joy, with drums softly playing in the background, and women cheering in celebration. Obi stood proudly together with his radiant and beautiful bride Adana. Her beauty was stunning. May your home be blessed with many children, one of the friends shouted. Amen, Obi replied excitedly, squeezing Adana's hand. Adana turned slowly toward him, smiling softly. I wish you safe journey back to the city, another friend added. Cheers followed, laughter and joy. 1 year later, the village was quiet. Dust rose gently as Adana walked slowly across the compound. Her hand resting on her swollen belly, she was heavily pregnant. Her mother-in-law had insisted she come to the village for proper care. Adana bent slightly, arranging clay pots in the front. Her breathing was steady, but her eyes kept scanning. After a while, she straightened up and decided to take a slow walk. Let me stretch my body, she muttered softly. As she moved past the huts, she heard voices, children, whispers. She paused and turned slowly. A group of children stood at a distance, staring at her, pointing, whispering. One of them spoke. This auntie is very fine like a mermaid. I want to be like her one day, another child quickly interrupted. This same auntie, my grandma said they are age mates, that they grew up in the same village. Laughter erupted. Stop lying, one shouted. I'm serious. The child insisted quickly. My grandma came last year when she got married. When she saw this auntie, she was scared. I asked her why, and she told me everything. The laughter stopped. That's not possible, one child whispered. Before anyone could say another word, a shadow fell behind them. Adana. She stood there. Her presence alone froze the air. Next time, she said slowly. Her voice was low and cold. I hear such nonsense from your mouths. The children turned. Fear exploded across their faces. You will all regret it. Her eyes darkened. The children didn't wait. They ran, scattering in different directions, like birds escaping a hunter. After that, Adana stood there, hissed, and walked away. That same day, the house was filled with tension. Push, push, the midwife shouted. Sweat covered Adana's face as she screamed in pain. Her grip tightened on the bedsheet. Her breathing became violent. Then, a final scream. A baby was born. The midwife held the child. Her expression changed instantly. Congratulations, she said slowly, but her voice lacked joy. Obi rushed forward, excitement flooding his face. My child is here, but then he froze. Why is the baby not crying? He asked. The midwife's hands trembled. She looked at the baby again, then at Adana. Her lips parted. He's gone. The words dropped like death itself. Obi staggered backward. No, that's not possible. Adana let out a piercing scream. My child. No, my baby, she cried. Deep inside, something else moved. A year passed. Again, Adana was pregnant. Again, hope returned. This time, Obi said softly, holding her hands in their furnished city living room. Our child will live. Adana smiled. Yes, this time. But her eyes remained unreadable. My mother said you should come to the village, Obi added gently. She will take care of you, so nothing disturbs the baby. Adana paused, then nodded slowly. Weeks later, they returned to the city with her still swollen stomach without a child. Adana sat on the bed, silent, refusing to eat. Her eyes empty, her body still. Obi walked in and sat beside her. He placed his hands on her shoulders. "Please, don't give up," he said softly. "God will not fail us." Adana stayed silent before speaking. "When my stomach finally comes down, what will people say? Won't they ask what happened to the baby?" she said with sadness in her voice. Regain your health first. Then we can talk about that later," Obi said. The next day they sat in the living room. Heavy silence filled the air. "My love," Adana said slowly. "There is something I have been meaning to tell you." Obi looked up. "What is it?" She leaned closer. "It's your mother." Obi frowned. "What about her?" Adana's voice dropped. "She does not like me." "That's not true," Obi replied quickly. "My mother has always supported us. Remember our wedding. She took full responsibility for you as an orphan." Adana shook her head slowly. "No, you don't see what I see." Obi's chest tightened. "What are you saying then?" she whispered. "She is the reason our children are dead." "No, Adana, don't say that," Obi said sharply. "I don't ever want to hear that again." But Adana continued. "Night after night, your mother watches me when I sleep. She enters my dreams. She stands beside our bed and eats our children." Silence fell between Adana and her husband. Another year, another pregnancy, another death, 3 children gone. Obi's mind broke. Sleep left him. Peace disappeared. Adana had just lost their 3rd child. "What if?" he whispered to himself one night. "What if she is right?" He remembered Adana's words, her fear, her tears, and his mother's silence. Something inside him began to crack. Then he went to the living room, thinking alone to avoid questions from sleeping Adana. Suddenly Obi fell asleep and met himself in a dream. In his dream, he stood in darkness. Then he heard footsteps, slow steps coming from his mother's room. "Mother," he called. No response. The footsteps continued, closer and closer behind him. His heart pounded. Then he heard a whisper, close to his ear. "Believe her." Obi froze, and immediately he woke up, breathing heavily, his heart racing, and somewhere in the darkness, Adana's eyes were open, watching him. Immediately, Obi picked up his phone and called his mother. "Good evening, Mama," he said. "Please, I want you to come to the city tomorrow. We have something important to discuss. Don't worry about transport fare. I will send it now." He ended the call quickly, without waiting for her reply. The next day, Mama Obi came to visit. She sat in the living room with her son as they talked. "Mama, please, if I have offended you in any way, have mercy and let my children live," Obi said in pain. "Abomination. Will you keep quiet?" His mother replied angrily. "What has that got to do with me? I pity you if you take matters into your own hands. Is that why you called me here?" She continued. "Do you think I am not looking for a solution to what is happening? What I can see while sitting down, even if you climb the tallest tree, you will not see it." She paused and then said, "Tell your wife to pack her things. She would follow me when I go back this weekend so she can be cleansed." Immediately after saying that, she stood up and left the living room angrily. Obi went into the bedroom and sat down, deep in thought. Suddenly, Adana came in and said, "I have a suggestion. Tell me," Obi replied. "I visited my priest today," she said. "He gave me a bottle of water. He said I should put it in Mama's drink. If she is responsible for what is happening, she will confess and free us. But if she is innocent, she will live long." Obi looked confused for a moment, then said, "Okay, let's try it since she said she is innocent." 2 days later, Mama Obi was lying on her bed, very weak. "Obi, Adana," she called. They both sat in front of her. "I don't know what you have done," she said weakly. "But I know this sickness is not ordinary. I will never die. And if anything happens to me now, I promise I will return." After saying that, she died. 2 years later, Adana gave birth to a baby girl. She lay on the hospital bed while the doctor carried the baby. Suddenly, the baby spoke. I am back. I am alive. And this time I must fulfill my purpose, she said in the voice of an old woman. The doctor was shocked and almost fell. Madam, you need to leave this place, he said nervously. This is not normal. How can a newborn baby speak like a 70-years-old woman? The room fell into a suffocating silence. Adana struggled to sit up, her body weak, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. Give me my baby, she whispered, her voice shaking. Slowly, the doctor handed the baby over. The moment Adana held her, the child laughed while staring into Adana's eyes. Not the innocent smile of a newborn. Obi, who had been standing by the door, rooted to the spot in shock, finally found his voice. This is not possible, he said. Obi, she called. His blood ran cold. That voice, that exact voice. Mama, he called, kneeling before the baby. You thought you could kill me. The child said calmly, You and your foolish wife. Adana tried to drop the baby, but her arms refused to move, as if an unseen force held them in place. No, the child laughed. You will carry me. You will nurture me. That is your punishment. The doctor stood in shock, watching everything before finding his voice. You will be discharged today, as I want no part in this. Obi still on his knees, tears streaming down his face. Mama, please forgive us. We didn't know what we were doing. The baby's expression hardened. Take me to the village from here, or else I won't tell you what happens next, the baby said. Immediately after they were discharged from the hospital, Obi and Adana did not return home. They went straight to the village. When they arrived, something felt wrong. People had already gathered. The news of a talking baby, and how Obi's mother died of a terrible illness, had already traveled down to the village. Whispers filled the air. The soul eaters have returned. They have returned. Fear spread quickly through the crowd. Adana held the baby tightly, confused and scared. Obi, why are they saying this? She asked. But Obi could not answer, because deep down he was afraid they were right. Suddenly, the child slipped gently from her arms and dropped to the ground. Not like a child, but like an elderly person. The entire village scattered, as if they had just seen a ghost standing. Then the baby spoke, while the villagers listened from a distance. My mother is evil, she said calmly. The crowd gasped. My mother is evil. Panic broke out again immediately. The village turned into chaos. Adana stood frozen, shaking, before finally carrying the baby back. What do you want from me? Adana cried. What have I done? How can I be free from this? The baby pointed at her. You can only be free when you confess your sins, she said. Adana's heart skipped. I don't understand. The baby continued. You walked the path of immortality, so you would never grow old. Adana tried shaking her head. No, I assure you, the baby said quietly. You will live for a very long time, but you will grow old. Adana's body went weak. Just then, royal guards fully adorned came to them. The king has sent for you, one of them said. You and your wife and the child. Obi exchanged a worried look with Adana. There was no escape. Moments later, they arrived at the palace. The king sat on his throne, surrounded by elders. Who is this child? The king asked. Adana stepped forward slowly. My king, she said, her voice shaking. This is my daughter. Murmurs filled the palace. Suddenly, the baby spoke. No, she said firmly. I am not her daughter. The baby lifted her head. I am Obi's mother, she declared. I have returned because there is something I must accomplish. The elders looked at one another. In fear, Adana quickly shouted, Shut up. What are you trying to say? The king raised his hand. Silence. He leaned forward, staring at the child in disbelief. So, it is true. A baby truly speaks. The entire palace remained still. The king's gaze never left Adana and Obi as they stood there, the weight of the entire palace bearing down on them. Speak, whatever you have to speak, the king commanded. his voice as cold as the stone walls of the palace. Adana's voice rang out, sharp and defiant. I have nothing to hide. What am I hiding? Nothing. Obi, his heart racing, staggered backward in shock. My king, I know nothing. My hands are clean. His voice trembled, but he stood tall facing the king, desperate for the truth to stay buried. Then, Barry, a powerful figure among the council, his voice cutting through the tension. My king, ask them why they ran from the city this day. Why did they leave? Because the truth is coming to light. People know what they truly are, and they fled, hoping the truth would stay hidden. Barry continued. My king, they tried to prevent the truth from being spoken, but it will come out. Their time is up. Justice must be done. The crowd murmured in disbelief, waiting for what would come next. Suddenly, the baby in Adana's arms stirred. The baby spoke, chanting some incantations and slapped Adana on the face. The force hit her like a wave, and a sudden transformation began to occur. The crowd watched in horror as Adana's body began to change. Her skin sagged, wrinkles formed, and her hair turned gray as she aged rapidly before their eyes. My king, she cried out, her voice now that of an old woman. I have lived for 200 years, and this is my 5th marriage. I made a pact with immortality. I have lived long, far too long. The crowd gasped, murmurs of disbelief spreading like wildfire. I used the children I bore from my womb. I killed them to replenish my youth. I killed my own children so that I would never die and never grow old. Adana's voice was trembling, her body frail with age, but the truth poured from her lips like poison. I destroyed families. I ruined lives. I've lived in so many places, hiding from the truth. She continued, her eyes wild. And I also killed my mother-in-law. I bewitched my husband into everything that has happened. I led him into believing that his mother is a witch. The crowd erupted in shock, abomination. Wickedness, what have we heard? They screamed, their voices filled with fear, disbelief, and rage. The king, his expression changed. He raised his hand for silence. The place quieted, the weight of Adana's confession settling over them like a heavy cloud. He turned to the baby, who was standing, watching everything. My child, what must be done to appease your spirit? The king asked, his voice low. The baby's tiny eyes locked onto the king's, and in a voice far older than her years, she spoke. I want her to be taken to the evil forest, the baby said. She will never die. She will live forever in that place, cursed to remain in the old age she has earned forever. The king nodded solemnly, understanding the punishment. And as for me, the baby continued, when everything is settled, my spirit will leave this body, leaving the baby to live a quiet life. Also, after I leave this body, the child is to be named Obi Anuju. Obi must take the child with him. He must live with the knowledge of what he has done. Whenever he sees me, he will remember what his wife has done. That is his punishment. Everywhere fell into deep silence, the final words echoing in everyone's ears. Without hesitation, the king said, where are the guards for the evil forest? Ha! Take this evil woman to the evil forest, he commanded, his voice filled with authority. Let her live out the rest of her days in torment. Let her remember what she has done. Guards moved forward. Seizing Adana roughly, she struggled, but her strength had left her. The punishment was set, and there was no escaping it. The crowd followed, chanting in unison as they made their way through the village. Evil woman! Abomination! Wickedness! They shouted, raising their hand in unison, cursing at her as she was dragged along. Adana, now an old woman, was begging for mercy as the guards took her deeper into the forest. The journey was long, the forest dark and oppressive. The air seemed thick with the weight of the past. The deeper they went, the darker the trees became, their branches twisted and gnarled, reaching out like hands trying to grab hold of Adana's soul. Finally, they reached the boundary of the evil forest. The guards stopped. Obi holding the baby, staring at her as Adana was left alone to herself in the evil forest. The moment she crossed the boundary, the air seemed to change. The wind howled, and the shadows of the forest swallowed her whole. The guards turned, walking back to the village, and the crowd slowly dispersed, leaving behind only the haunting silence of the cursed forest. Obi stood at the edge, holding the baby in his arms, stirred. He knew he had made a lot of mistakes in life, and the only way to correct that is by taking care of the baby in his hands. Slowly, the spirit of Obi's mother left the child. Obi nodded slowly, the weight of everything pressing down on him. Moral of the story: no matter how long evil hides, the truth will always come out. Greed for power and fear of truth can destroy lives. In the end, every action has consequences, and some punishments last forever. Thank you, our dear viewers, for watching. Did this story touch your heart? Please like, share, and drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. Stay tuned for our more powerful African stories.